name is Abdel Khawatmi. I own Got Mortgages. I'm part of PRMG, Paramount Residential Mortgage Group. We are a hyper-local mortgage lender, independent mortgage banker. A big part too, I have been with the exact same institution my entire career as well. So something for us to talk about as we start gearing into our presentation and all that fun stuff. What I'll do is I'll usually this presentation is going to have kind of like two segments to it, Billy, as I know you sent when I sent it over. The first segment will be just a little bit about us and some of the things that we do, both on who I am personally and just some professional accolades. We'll halt there. Any questions that you guys have, just in kind of just as you guys, I'm sure you're going through multiple facets of your careers. Now, Billy, the audience, are they predominantly like in high school, college? What's kind of the mix of the members?
Mostly college students.
Cool.
Actually, if you guys want to put what schools you guys are from in the chat, we could do
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
like where that's located for Abdel. But they're all from California for the most part, or should be. I'm sure we'll have a few other people from outside, joining us, but mostly college.
Got it. I love it. So listen, I went to school at college. I actually got both my bachelor's and master's, as Billy said. So I'm gonna kick us off. I'm gonna share my screen and go through a all that fun stuff. I wish I went to college now in the digital age of AI, which I'm sure you guys have probably heard a thing or two about AI, right? We're gonna go through a lot of really cool stuff of just kind of where our career has progressed and how we are kind of really taking the industry by storm, right? Um, so again, a little bit more about me personally. I'm as I say, I believe in the four F's. So it's faith, family, fitness, and finance. So I'm a faith-driven entrepreneur first, God first. I'm a father of two, a 14-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. I actually had my daughter literally in your shoes, junior year into my senior year of college. So talk about, life kind of really coming at us at full speed. We've been blessed. She's actually just about to enter high school now in September, which is crazy. I do like to go to the gym just a little bit, so I'm a fitness fanatic. And then we also, as I say, live by that same code when I run my business on the finance side, right? Obviously, the whole goal is to always outwork the entire room, take care of the people we love, and a little joke in there, never skip leg day. Okay? So faith, family, fitness, finance. I'm a firm believer if you guys master those four in that order, you will really achieve that fifth freedom, right? Which is that last F, right? Faith, family, fitness, finance achieved will allow you guys that opportunity to achieve freedom, in my opinion, in life. So again, this is the path. I didn't just fall into mortgages, as I had said, right? I went and got my bachelor's in political science and pre-law at Rutgers University. Had my daughter, so life kind of turned a little bit. Went and got my master's in risk and compliance, specifically in business law at Montclair State. Went on and started working in the workforce for a personal injury law firm for quite some time, for about almost 4.5 years. And then actually stumbled onto mortgages. I was the one that was responsible to ensure that the attorneys were making sure that their cases were getting settled, keeping an eye on statute of limitations. So I'm on the East Coast, specifically in New Jersey. Statute of limitation was 2 years, so we were making sure that they were getting their complaints or interrogatories or discoveries or briefs, all that fun stuff filed on time. I was essentially truly that face with the consumer. Clients were getting their cases settled for upwards of 6, 7 figures for their settlements. You get a lot of money. What do you normally want to do? Achieve the goal of homeownership, which is what we're going to talk about today. Ended up stumbling into purchasing my first property at 24, and then started building a very fair share of properties. I ended up owning 3 properties by the time I was 28, right? I'm 36 now, 8 years, yeah, 28. And then ended up diving into this, honestly, truly, just because of the lack of communication and expectations I was receiving from just past professionals. And really, in any field that you guys go through, I can confidently tell you if your communication is in check and you have that opportunity to express consistent reliability, you will be successful in any facet of your industry. Okay. And I ended up, again, diving into mortgages, and here we are today, right? Some of the accolades, I am not one, Billy knows me. I despise talking about accolades. I'm not one to want to go into it, but sometimes it's good to sprinkle it here and there. We did receive twice just this past year for 2025, got received in 2026. The top 40 under 40 years old, with both Housing Wire and Scotsman Guide as the emerging star, which was pretty cool. Just so you guys are more or less fairly aware, the average age of a mortgage lender is generally in their mid to late 50s. I'm currently 36 years old, so it kind of gives us that competitive advantage, to kind of flaunt that a little bit. We are a top 1% originator throughout the entire country. And then, as Billy mentioned earlier, I am one of the youngest that ever joined our company's president's cabinet, which is, again, just a prestigious organization to be a part of in the first place. But having that opportunity to kind of, and again, being the youngest, and we were consistently always the top in our region on the East Coast, definitely having a very fair share within our corporate leadership team as well, and managing actually our corporate leadership's children as we are right now with our CEO's son and our CFO's son, right? Some of the cool stuff numbers, right? We all do this to make money. I was certainly one of the first, not the only, a seven-figure business owner within my family, which is great. Introducing that and actually having some of them employ. My daughter has been working with me now for the last 2 years, starting 12 years old, which is awesome. She has been integral in getting introduced to AI specifically. If any of you guys have heard of Gamma, which is a PowerPoint presentation deck, I had her last year before Claude was like super cool, right? I had her last year basically go and take a lot of different contents and PowerPoints and essentially use that to plug and play, and redid about 3,500 different pieces of PowerPoint presentations. So definitely introducing her to that. So you guys are aware of Roth IRAs and all that fun stuff. I need to max it out at 7 grand. Now it's 8,500. So she was actually having her own bank account and all that fun stuff at the same time. So we have helped so far year to date 800 families served nationally throughout the country, not just on the East Coast, but definitely on the West Coast. It's also really interesting, Billy. I don't know if you know this because I know you're on my side of the coast. Um, Cali and some states, they have like the weirdest closing process because they actually like close and fund, and then then they actually sign the documents first and then finalize the numbers after. It's really interesting. But that's really cool, guys. As obviously our goal is to start growing on a national basis, right? In any career that you're pursuing, whether it's business or wisdom, understanding the local market as you progress in your careers becomes such a huge facet of who you're speaking to, right? And then again, the pivot, right? I personally, after a while, after having my daughter, and then I actually went and my wife was pregnant, when I had to make the career of, do I continue working that, 9 to 5, where I was making well over six figures, or do I really kind of start following somewhat of that cliche passion that I was really looking forward to, right? And we did, right? I didn't want to spend my life arguing over something that already went wrong. Went ahead and obviously started helping families and truly building that generational wealth, not just for myself, but also for my plethora of employees now, right? Um, I'm going to pause right there. Does anybody have any questions or comments, or really can share similar stories as you guys are going through some similar upbringings?
I don't have any question, but I would like to say thank you for like sharing your story. It's been like really inspiring and kind of related.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely fun. And listen, there's always everybody here, I'm sure, whether you're a first generation college student or you are following, let's call it a family tree, right? Education for me was always important, right? It certainly allowed that opportunity. As I say, Billy, I know you've heard me say this several times. Nobody walked up in second grade during show and tell and said that they wanted to be a mortgage lender or any type of maybe potential career, right? I'm sure, Lord knows, I actually wanted to, and when I first got into college, I actually wanted to go in the medical field, right? Imagine me as a doctor, Billy. That would not fare well for my clients. And then I ended up obviously falling in love with law, and just as quickly as I fell in love with it, just as quickly as I started hating it. and frankly, just seeing some of the different, perspectives, and then fell into this entrepreneurial lifestyle of what we're doing now, right? So to reiterate, kind of like what were some of the things that I think you guys can truly take this in any fashion, not just mortgages, right? Billy knows that I actually speak on several national stages throughout the country, and I always go over this specific framework, right? I love speaking in acronyms. So when you're looking to accomplish your goal or go through that journey, really in anything that you do, you want to be clear in what your vision is going to be, right? And when we talk about being clear, we're going to start off with C, standing for content, right? You need to build trust through education and consistent visibility. I'm sure most of us here have grown through the age of social media, right? Let's be honest. Whether it is through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, um, Twitter, whatever the hell it's called nowadays, Threads, right? And all that fun stuff, right? We build that trust through education and consistent visibility. And let me tell you guys, I'm a firm believer in that. We just passed, I think it was yesterday, 667 videos on YouTube. So certainly putting out the content out there consistently is very, very important for you to get found, especially in the digital age of AI. So L will be leverage. Systems, technology, and AI work smarter, not louder. So again, guys, in any facets of your careers, if you guys are studying, right, building out a regimented system where how I used to do it, frankly, when I was in class, was I didn't actually used to I would bring my laptop, but I would take my notes on a notepad, write it down, and then I would actually, if I got home or later on the weekend, I would lie to you if I said every single time, right? We're all in college, let's be honest. There's some partying that's going on in between, so I'll be frank about it. But I would always make it a point that I would also go home, or at least some facet before the end of the week, and type up my notes. So therefore, not only did I do it both manually with my hands, so I remembered what I wrote, I also saw it visually, and I was able to say it to myself so I heard it. Okay, so you activated all your senses at the same time, right? Guys, in the age of right now with AI, as we're going through college and as we're going through multiple facets of our business, one of the biggest reasons I can attribute to our success alongside with Billy and his team and a lot of different people that are integral in our business is the technology part is allowing us the opportunity to adopt this faster, right? So when you're somebody out there, as you guys are progressing in your careers and as you guys are progressing into your just education, working smarter, not louder, the cliche saying of smarter, not harder, it really is true. Being what I would say fairly quick to adopt and change, I'm sure most of us can say, right? I could speak to it, right? I'm a son and I have children myself. We always look at our parents and we're like, oh, they have no idea what they're talking about, right? And sometimes we come from first generations or second generation, people. The most integral part of us being able to leverage and tweak some of the things that we have will allow you that much more of an opportunity to be successful. Okay. Equity, right? Equity, not just in terms of just helping your clients, or we're talking about real estate equity. We're talking a little bit more about equity in terms of just your assets that you have at your fingertips in order for you to be able to be successful, right? Authenticity is critical. You want to be able to lead by example. Billy knows, we were just joking prior to us jumping on, was I do not wear anything except my individual brand. Literally nothing. My shirt right now says I'm the mortgage guy. And we do it on a consistent basis. It's not just done for fun. I don't think I own a t-shirt outside of my Got Mortgages brand. Even if I'm really forced to be in a suit. I was just in DC last week, actually advocating and meeting with 4 House congressional members and 2 senators for us in the state of New Jersey, truly advocating and really pushing for some housing reform of what we're dealing with about me on the East Coast, right? So when Billy had reached out, I think I was actually in DC, and I said I'd love the opportunity to share some of this stuff because I did not have this opportunity, and I went to a great school, but I don't think I was one to probably take advantage of this stuff. So kudos to you guys for doing this on, assuming you guys are on the West Coast, so I'll do my math, right? 11 o'clock, right? 12, 1, 2, yeah. 11 o'clock on a Saturday, right? You guys are leading by example, right? There's a reason why you guys are the future business leaders of America. And then the last one, R, for reputation. Reputation for me is key. If you were to Google our first and last name, I would be remiss and pissed if I was to have any rating under a 5-star, right? So as a team, we're just past 812 5-star reviews throughout the entire country. And it's definitely invigorating to be able to have 19% of our business in 2025 came from past clients, right? And understanding those KPIs are super, super critical for you to be successful. Okay. So again, guys, 3 lessons that I have for you, right? Your major isn't your ceiling. As I said, right? I started off first thinking I was going to go into the medical field, then shifting into pre-law and then running a mortgage company, right? Obviously follow that passion, right? I'm sure most of us maybe grew up with our parents saying to be doctors and lawyers, which are obviously extremely prestigious careers, but none of us want to have that midlife crisis as we grow older, right? Build that brand before you need it, right? I was always consistent with my brand of Got Mortgages. If any of you guys literally search us, I've got a pretty obnoxious vehicle. Billy knows it. It's a Cybertruck, American flag wrap. It's got a lender for life. Everybody knows this as the gorilla, which is why you guys might have seen some gorillas throughout this presentation. And it literally says, "I want you to get a mortgage," pointing like Uncle Sam, right, paying your taxes. So
Pretty sick, actually. A little ostentatious, maybe, but pretty sick.
listen, I'll tell you guys, I got that car about 9 months ago now. I've gotten 7 mortgages out of it. So again, build that brand before you need it in any facet that you do, whether if it's not sales, whether you're a technical engineer or whatever the case may be, being authentic to yourself, guys, is uber critical. And then obviously solving that hard problem on purpose, right? We were certainly one, and I'm extremely vocal about it on social media, where we are able to work on any situation that a maybe potential competitor may not be, right? I'm going to stop right there. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything like that, or maybe some similar stories you guys can share with us that you also feel that you're going through the same thing?
Ooh, Don Jolly, Otto. I know Otto, you're transferring and kind of probably figuring out some stuff yourself. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Cool. Well, we'll circle back.
Oh, I think I do have one. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, bud.
So you mentioned about the leverage like new technology like AI and stuff, but also you talk about the be authentic to yourself. I wonder how can it like go together because if we use AI sometimes like something that come out may not be like our idea.
It's such a great question. Listen, guys, the day and age of technology is evolving so quickly, right? And I always attribute it to these analogies where, it's funny, right? When I was just doing the math right now, I still do the math on my hands, right? Where you're like, 11, 1, 2, okay, that makes it's 2 o'clock, right? Um, and then obviously there was the age, you guys might be a little bit younger, but, I used to deal with like dial-up internet and then went from dial-up internet to obviously now fiber optic to Wi-Fi to YouTube TV, as simple as it is now, right? Where I used to literally run wires from like one side of the house to the other, so I could try to get internet. Otto, right now, I think the competitive advantage that I'm seeing in our industry and really any industry in general is exactly what you just talked about: authenticity, leveraging um, and I don't want to talk just about AI, but leveraging AI and technology in any way, but putting that auto spice to it too, right? Putting that personal spin of why somebody may necessarily want to use you. I can confidently tell you guys how we use artificial intelligence, and Billy knows this, is more from an operational efficiency perspective of like, hey, let me know how many emails I sent for the day. Hey, let me know what calendars, what events I have coming up. I don't personally use it too much from a content perspective, because I think, to your point, Otto, that's what takes away that personal like authenticity. Then you're like every other Joe Schmo person who just Googles. Used to be Googles, right? Now it's search is AI, right? It's no longer about SEO, it's about AEO and stuff like that. But such a great point, and I think you're onto something. And remembering that, guys, if we're using technology, we're using it because we might get an answer faster, but we don't want to portray it with a faster answer. Right? We want that answer faster. We want to absorb it, and then put that personal spin to it as well. Does that make sense? So if you guys are, I mean, I would probably fail so much right now in college because of AI, because I'm sure most of us, we get a book, right? I feel like I'm aging myself, but is like Cliff Notes and Spark Notes still around, right? Is that still a thing? Where there was like a book and you didn't read it and you had to like look it up on Cliff Notes and Spark Notes. Um, that was like your cheat sheet for when you didn't read a book and you were trying to get like a high level summary about the book, right? You went there and searched it. Um, but the reality of it too is you still have that opportunity to put your personal spin to it, right? But a big part too is understanding what are you using it for and then being able to now spit it out accordingly. Does that make sense, right? Where the delivery of your message can now be a little bit more clearer rather than vice versa, where you're like every other potential Joe Schmo who's just searching something hoping that they can find an answer. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the answer.
You're
Very good.
very welcome. So now the fun part. What do I actually do for a living? Is help people get into homes, right? We're going to talk about home ownership, guys, most importantly to us as Gen Zers, right? And what are some of the things that previous generations are obviously going through? Okay. Okay, so check this graph out, guys. So powerful. And what I'll do is when I wrap this up, I'll share this with Billy. You guys are more than welcome to utilize this. So again, the wealth gap we all know is widening, right? Look at this statistic. The statistic in, I'm like colorblind, we would say teal, blue, right? Of homeowners has an average net worth of almost $396,000. This is 2022 data. So probably now I would probably say is like five conservatively, right? If not higher, because I'm sure most of you guys know homes continue to appreciate drastically, right? As opposed to a renter's is only at 10,400. I'll be so confident to probably say it might even be less because that gap of inflation, right, where cost of stuff is higher, has definitely dramatically impacted certain people, right? A 38x gap, and again, I think it's probably even higher gap. So I don't know about you guys, but I would rather have more money in my pocket than obviously less and paying somebody else's mortgage. This is where we're at too, guys. Time is our superpower, right? That property that I purchased 12 years ago, bought it for about 480,000. It's probably worth now about 1.7 million. And that's just one of our properties. We've got 16 investment properties personally. That in and of itself, and as I always say, that is not my money. That is my children's money. It's all done in a trust and an estate, which is a whole nother conversation. But again, time is your superpower, guys. And if there's any recommendation I can tell you is have that opportunity to start young, right? Purchase that property, even if you think it's out of reach. Homes continue to appreciate. This is on a super, super, super conservative percentage, 3%. I can confidently tell you guys in California and in New Jersey, on the East Coast, home values are way more than that. They're likely still in the double-digit percentages of 11 to 12%, and I'm sure in some areas like the high desert, it's probably even higher, right? If you guys buy a home at $400,000 at 22 years old, on just a conservative 3% perspective, by 32 it'll be 537,000. You'll gain a little over a third in just home value appreciation. By 42, 20 years later, it would literally have almost doubled, right? $722,000. Again, at that conservative level. Same house, same payment, same everything. Obviously, a bunch of compounding interest, right? So some myths for us, guys, right? You do not need 20% down to purchase a home. You could put as low as 3.5% down or 3% down. There's several down payment assistance programs throughout the country. Did you guys know, by the way, for those of us who think that you need a 2-year working history, this is a very key, is you can graduate from college if you are full-time and pick up a full-time job. And as long as we can get an offer letter and a pay stub confirming that, and it's more or less in the same line of work of what you went to school for, you can buy a house. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people are under a misconception that you need to wait 2 years to have that job type employment. It's not true. College is actually one of that riders, let's call it, that actually will help circumvent that. We will actually ask you guys for school transcripts, and if you get the school transcripts, you'll actually have that opportunity to circumvent the 2-year requirement. Okay, so that home purchase may necessarily not be out of reach, and I'll tell you guys, there's also obviously opportunities for parents to co-sign. This is no way to tell you to buy a house. This is just things that I've seen over the years with younger generations taking advantage of homeownership and building that generational wealth. You don't need perfect credit. Obviously, you could be as low as 580. In some instances, VA, I've seen even more exceptions. Renting is cheaper, could be, but I'll tell you guys, you're paying 100% interest as you continue to rent as opposed to obviously own, right? To be honest. I'll figure it out later. Again, very true. I graduated at 21. So it took me, 3 years to purchase my first property. I was 24. So 3 years to purchase it. So again, just engraving it in our head that it is something that we want to take advantage of, okay? 3 things I want us to think about, guys. I call it the 3 C's. We could also throw another one, right? So it's credit, capacity, and capital, okay? So credit score, super important, right? Obviously, the higher the credit score, the better opportunity. There's a lot of legislation out there right now, guys. So there's different types of credit scores. There's a FICO and a Vantage. FICO is what a majority of lenders use. Vantage just got passed on April 23rd, allowing us potentially the opportunity to use that model, right? It's a big deal. We've been using FICO for a long time. If you guys ever notice, if you've ever been on Credit Karma runs a Vantage credit score model. It's a different algorithm of what it looks at, right? Algorithm on Vantage, usually it doesn't really hurt you too much on your balance owed and your payment history. FICO is a little bit more stringent on that. This could potentially change the entire dynamic of how we lend on, because as institutions continue to potentially adopt this stuff, that's going to make it easier for someone like yourself who may necessarily not have that 6-month or extensive established history. You guys can actually qualify for that potential mortgage payment of what you're looking for. Capacity is a big deal. So debt to income, I'm sure you guys have heard of that, right? How much you currently make on a gross perspective if you're a W-2 employee versus how much you currently owe. And then down payment again. And a key part for you guys for down payment too, you can actually get a down payment 100% gifted to you. Meaning parents can potentially gift you the down payment in order for you to qualify. Obviously, very, very straightforward, right? Credit score, different, models of where you land. You guys would be surprised. I've seen some very, very low credit scores. Anything under 629 is usually considered a little on there. I wouldn't say bad. I should change that. I would say a light credit score. Anything from 630 to 689 is considered fair. 690 to 719 is good. 720 and above is obviously considered excellent. It will give you more opportunities for that. So, guys, I wish somebody told me this. As you guys start getting older, or you might already be at that age, right? Be very mindful of some of the certain credit stuff that you're going to get, right? And I will play nice, and I won't name some creditors, but there are some, right, that you've seen Samuel L. Jackson rep on TV. Be very careful. There's other ones, right, that also end in a 1 and starts with a credit, right? There are some that ends in a premier and starts with a first. Be very, very careful of some of these credit card companies, guys, because you as young aspiring professionals and young aspiring adults, you don't want to get caught in a credit card that you eventually start finding out that you got to pay an annual fee, which some have who have perks, some have none, or worse, a monthly fee, right? Because then you'll end up in a situation where you really don't want to close it because you'll hurt yourself, okay? Guys, and then slowly recapping this, right? The path to own. So this is what I would say should be your perspective. Build that foundation. In my opinion, this is where you guys are at. Make sure your credit is on a straight path. You've got your savings. You've got a steady income as you consistently grow. Set that budget for yourself, right? Both what you can qualify and what you're personally comfortable with, right? When you make a mortgage payment, you pay what's called your PITI, which is your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance. Okay. If you buy a condo, there's some additional stuff like an HOA or a maintenance fee. Get pre-approved. Obviously, you want a true, real lender conversation, not a 30-second completion of an app via bot and telling you what you're qualified for. Build that right team, right? A real estate agent, an attorney if your state permits, an advisor, mortgage advisor, and then obviously inspect, lock, and close. You'll go through that process, right? So 4 things I want you guys to do this week or whenever you have throughout your time, right? Every single person here has an opportunity to get a copy of their credit report for free. If you guys go to annualcreditreport.com, this does not affect your credit score, does not give you anything in capacity. You can get a copy of your credit report for free and go through it. Open a high yield savings account, right? A high yield savings account will give you guys the opportunity to basically get a return on any money you may have, right? Track your DTI, right? Stay on top of that debt to income and make sure that debt to income obviously is very, very close. I can share with you guys, I'll have my contact info later. And then you guys are able to get educated. So I own a foundation called gotmortgagescares.com. I'm also a part of an ambassador for First Home IQ. You guys all have that opportunity to be able to go through some of that stuff and go through some of the different information and strategies of what you guys have at. This is literally what we preach and teach day in, day out to our constituents. And I'll leave you guys with this quote, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Okay. Obviously, seek the guidance, seek the assistance from your leadership team, seek the guidance and the assistance from your parents, from those of us who have obviously, gone through some of the journeys and paths. You don't need to be rich. You need a plan, a team, and a discipline to get started. Cool. Anybody have any questions or anything like that?
I had a question.
Yes.
So I was actually one of those people who thought that you need established 2 years of history to get a loan or even mortgages to even get considered for these things. But you mentioned that after college, your transcript, you can get the letter for those. But with those, do you think your credit score is still heavily considered, or is that less of a factor that's considered?
So there's 3 C's taken into consideration, right? Credit score, capital, and capacity that we spoke about, right? You could start your credit as young as I think I was 18, right? With that, the history, usually they want a 6-month minimum payment history in order for you to get a real authentic credit score, right? You do need truly as low as that 640, at least 620 even, but that 640 mark to be able to truly get qualified. Not sure what stage you are at in your career, in your schooling. Got a little bit of time, right? Secured credit cards are great. I would also recommend being added as an authorized user. My daughter right now at 12 years old has about 8 accounts in her name as an authorized user. They were all my personal credit cards that I've added her on. And I was that young kid that opened up all the credit cards I got because, oh my God, I got free money, right? And I literally beat myself about it all the time because it's I didn't really need that many credit cards. Luckily, I'm in a position where I don't really use them. I keep them open so I don't diminish that history. But yes, so what we'll do is when you're in a position just like that, what we do is we get your school transcripts that basically show that you've been in school from hypothetically, let's say April of 2024 to say April of 2026, or many people I think graduate right May, June, or however it is on the West Coast, June of 2026. So we would go back and we would say, when did you start school? Was it June of 2024 to June of 2026? That will allow you the opportunity to circumvent your 2-year working history. I've actually done literally mortgages for someone as young as 20 years old, right? And had that opportunity for them to purchase.
Got it. Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions? We're good.
Could I also ask another question?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm here
This
for.
goes back to your earlier point. It's more like a personal question because I actually resonate with your story. I actually used to want to be like a neurosurgeon, and then I switched over to law. But because I go to community college now, I'm like an econ and math major, so I'm not very like connected with law, or I don't even have classes that are kind of like similar. And until I transfer, it's probably going to stay that way because we don't have the same like pre-law sources. So I feel myself like lost and kind of like debating on whether it is the right choice. So since you went through the same thing, how did you know like that you wanted to go into PRMG, or like that law wasn't the right choice for you?
So that's a great question. Your choices in life obviously evolves as to where you are in your career and your life and to your aspirations and stuff. Um, I always had, I loved numbers. I owned obviously property previously to getting into mortgages. And I knew that there, in my unbiased opinion, there was no more powerful investment resource than real estate, right? And I was surrounded by several, people who had done some of the stuff for me, and I could tell they lived a very comfortable lifestyle. Um, and I said, you know what, this is something that I think is there. It's also very interesting because, guys, anything that you do in your career, you always have different experiences to get you to your success, right? Like I first started out, as I'm sure probably I'm gonna imagine probably half the people in this room have probably like served or waitered or bartended at a restaurant, right? I'm gonna imagine, right? Almost all of us. If you didn't, you guys are lucky. But it taught you customer service, right? Where you learned how to speak to person, you learned, as I always say, sales, service, support. So your sales side, you learned how to talk to somebody. It taught you how to support. So when you got really busy, you were able to jump behind the bar and help the bartender and do that. And then on the service side, it just allowed you to be able to communicate with people and just make sure that things were done efficiently. So, Sved, I would say that would be my best recommendation is find out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, have that deep conversation with yourself. Run, you may have heard what's called a SWOT analysis, your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, right? Which again could potentially evolve, right? I'm a Jersey guy. So you're in your face, what's up, roll your sleeves up, get down in the trenches and get things done. And I realized that there was a huge disparity in this potential industry that people are not doing. And I can be that young kid who can come in and take the industry by storm, as Billy can attest to, we have been on a national level. So I would find what you're good at. So if you started out in your career where you wanted to be a neurosurgeon, which means that you're obviously very sharp in your industry or in your career, and then going into law, which again requires that analytical thinking, just like neurosurgery does, find that perfect opportunity, which could still remain law, right? That will allow you to tap into your strength and that opportunity, right? Whether it's from community to regular to law, and then take it from there.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anybody else have anything for me?
I do have questions.
Yes. What's up, Otto?
Hi. Have you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki?
Oh yeah, several
Yeah,
times.
yeah. Okay.
I'm a probably didn't mention it, but I'm a big book nut.
Um,
I actually have a book club that we started called Books, Beans, and Brotherhood. We read one book a month. It's about 16 different business owners that are in my circle, from a financial advisor to all that stuff. And we've read Atomic Habits, James Clear, Start with Why, Simon Sinek, a bunch of different really cool books. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is obviously one of the top, bare basic foundations that allow you that opportunity to be successful. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, a lot of great, things. So I would certainly recommend, guys, at the same time, to echo your point, Otto, definitely reading, guys, will certainly allow you. In today's age, right, audibles are huge. As I'm driving in my truck, listening to audibles and then taking those mental notes and again typing them up on your phone and then going back.
mhm.
It might be downstairs, but I've got like my own little book journal that we write down every time I read a book, right? It's pretty cool to go back to because you could have articulated conversations with people, guys. And I guarantee you, if you want to stand out from the mix, that certainly is one of the very, very good things that you'll have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I love reading book as well. So my question is, in the book, argued that he argued that the buying house is actually buying a liability. It's kind of like something that take money from your pocket rather than assets. What do you think about that?
I mean, listen, there's certainly two sides to a coin, but I don't know about you, but in the last 80 years, home values have appreciated 74 times. And the 6 times that it has not appreciated, 4 of those years were after the housing bubble. So if we were to really swipe away that 4 or 5 year time frame, home values have diminished in value once. So now, obviously, from the rich dad, poor dad perspective, is a little bit more differently into stocks and investments and things along that nature. So certainly two sides to a coin, but I'm going to be biased from our success and things like that and say that real estate happens to be, and if you were to see some of the most successful business entrepreneurs that are out there, real estate is certainly that gateway for them to be able to continue, gaining that appreciation and passing it down with tax advantages and stuff like that to their children. So,
Cool.
awesome.
Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Well, thank you so much, Abdel. I'm sure we all are walking away with some good tips. I mean, I learned things I didn't know either. So it's cool. Great having you. Um,
Absolutely.
but if anybody else has any other questions, you can feel free to follow up. Where's the best place for them to reach out to you? Is it your Instagram or LinkedIn or?
Instagram is fine. I'll also give you guys my email. So ak@gotmortgages.com. My Instagram is